That mutual feeling and exchange of love is what's needed, not just love alone. Because feeling loved includes feeling cherished, wanted, adored, supported. It's in the gratitude that you express. It's in how you show how lucky you feel to have them in your life. It's in how you listen to them, the way you look in their eyes, the way you do things for them to make them feel special. Not just, oh, I made you dinner, did the dishes, cleaned and folded your laundry. No, it's in how you keep them in mind when making decisions. It's in how you compromise with them and collaborate. It's in how much you show them that they are a priority for you. Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life and marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be diving into whether love is enough when it comes to keeping a marriage strong after kids. Now, we are well aware that after kids, marriages change significantly. But is love enough? And I'm sure as I'm saying this, you are quickly reaching to the answer of no. But let's dive into why it isn't enough. Because love is likely the biggest reason why you got married in the first place. The biggest reason why you thought that you should take the relationship to the next level of girlfriend and boyfriend to fiance to spouses. But now you are also mom and dad. And so where does your relationship go from here when there's been such a big shift and transition in your marriage? So we're going to dive into that. And I'm going to share with you some perspective shifts and tips for you to navigate this transition, whether you've been through the transition recently or you are actively going through it, or you're like, no, my kids are older and now I'm dealing with the aftermath of how much our marriage has changed after kids. So if you're new to me, hi, I'm so glad you found this podcast. I am a mom of 3. I'm a stepmom to a 14-year-old. I have a son who's 8, and I have a daughter who's 4. And so I have been parenting for a while, and my relationship with my husband actually started off with us already having a child to care for half of the time. So I have a bit of a unique experience and perspective when it comes to this because we had to start off very intentional about how we were going to build a relationship, because right from the start, after we decided to go from best friends to partners, we were already parents. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay, so let's talk about the reality of parenthood. Okay, once you become parents, you not only have less time, less energy, but you also have a ton more responsibility. You now have to manage your time like you've never ever had to manage it before. You've got kids who are fully dependent on you as babies. Like if you are breastfeeding, if you are bottle feeding, whatever it is, they are needing to eat so damn often, right? And that is the best case scenario, right? If you're like me, in the beginning of my first biological son, I had nursing issues, right? Like I had production problems. And so I truly felt like a cow at that time because when I wasn't nursing to stimulate more milk production, I was doing things to make sure that I could help myself produce milk. And I am very grateful that I eventually did, and it was fine, but it was so, so stressful. And it definitely affected my marriage negatively because I was in such a poor state of mental health because I felt like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this thing that's supposed to come natural to me? And that was almost, it probably was actually where I saw the biggest shift when it came to my marriage because I was so laser focused on making enough milk, of providing for my child to be able to feed him so that he wasn't, what did they call, they said it was failure to thrive because he was losing weight after leaving the hospital because I wasn't producing enough milk. And everything I thought of revolved around my child. How can I make enough milk? How can I make sure he's sleeping well? Because he also was having trouble sleeping. He was not one of those sleepy babies. I really felt like I had to put in a lot more effort to put him to sleep than he actually slept. And so I was so drained. I was exhausted. I was mentally exhausted and physically exhausted. And that led to a lot more disagreements with my husband. And instead of seeing him as my partner, I was seeing him for all the ways that he wasn't living up to what I needed in that moment because I was just not able to take care of myself. And so any little thing that in my mind I thought that he should be doing but never verbalized, I would snap at him. And so there's this big shift because I started looking at my husband not as someone who was there with me, but as someone who was just in the way and not doing what I needed him to do because he couldn't read my mind. But I didn't realize that I was doing that. I was holding him up to standards that wasn't communicated, and I was being unfair about it, right? And so even though I was struggling, I also wasn't doing what a true partner would be doing in that situation, which was communicating. And when it comes to communicating, when you are a new parent, that is something so different because you may think that you're great communicators before having kids, but once you have kids, that really puts your communication to the test because you are not feeling your best all the time. You are not well rested. You are, like I said, emotionally and physically exhausted. And there's just a huge toll that parenting takes on your general health. And no one can ever prepare you enough for how you're going to be on low sleep and constantly having to tend to someone and feeling like you don't have time to yourself or even physical space for yourself. So communication's affected, you start arguing more, you have trouble verbalizing your needs because you don't even have a second to think about what it is that you need. And everything you're experiencing is like the first time going through that. And so you are learning while also feeling like you are failing yourself and your child and your relationship. So then your connection takes a hit and intimacy falls because who wants to be intimate when you're not feeling connected? Who wants to be intimate when you're constantly arguing, right? Like that's the last thing you want to do. And not to mention, maybe you're even feeling touched out because your baby is constantly on you. You're carrying the baby, you're feeding the baby, you're changing diapers, you are consoling them all the time because babies just cry, right? That's how they communicate with you. Meanwhile, maybe you're even going nuts because you can only handle so much crying, right? It's triggering sometimes. And so it is no surprise with having less time to hang out, having all your energy depleted, and feeling like you are just barely hanging on, the demands that you're constantly trying to meet leads to you not being able to take care of yourself, you not being able to even think of doing stuff for your spouse because you are trying to keep this baby alive and thriving. And so there's just a big shift in, hey, it's just me and you right now. I love you. Let's do things for each other. Let's cuddle. Let's do fun things and let's talk and get to know each other better, to absolutely none of that. It shifts to making demands of each other. Hey, I need you to do this. Hey, why didn't you do that? Hey, it's just such a big transition to just keeping this small child alive, and how much we don't know when it comes to taking care of them and leaving the house for the first time. Like, oh my gosh, do we have everything we need? And just, will the baby like the car seat? And will they like the car ride? And just so much is getting thrown at you, right? It's a question. Why isn't love enough? Right? Why is love alone in the marriage not enough? Because if we're constantly in the state of do, let's take care of the kids. We will get back to us later when the kids are more independent. Maybe they're in grade school, or when we feel like we have our groove with child rearing, then we'll get back to it. But in the meantime, it becomes this like unwritten, unsaid assumption that we still love each other. Okay. But let's rewind a little bit and strip it down. What does love mean to couples? Period. Like, let's dive into that. Okay. So that we can understand why love alone is not sufficient. It's important, but let's dive into what love actually is and why it's not enough. Okay. So naturally, I Googled this because what else would a marriage coach do but to define it through Google? Love is deep affection. That's all Google says. Deep affection. And while couples do still love each other after the kids come, that love, like I said, becomes an implied love, right? Not one that's demonstrated day after day. Love starts looking like things that you do for your partner, like taking care of your kids, like taking out the garbage, like cooking for them, like going grocery shopping. Which is why couples start feeling like they're turning into or have become co-parenting roommates, because doing things for your partner is not enough, period. Doing things for your partner just is not enough. You also have to show them. They have to feel loved. Okay? I want you to sit there and reflect. If your husband were to only do things for you for the rest of your marriage, would that actually leave you feeling loved? I bet you the answer is no. I know for me it would be no, right? Because to me, while you can feel love for someone, the definition of deep affection, it's purely internal. It's something that you yourself feel. But for your partner to feel that is what they need to feel like the marriage is strong. So that mutual feeling and exchange of love is what's needed, not just love alone. Because feeling loved includes feeling cherished, wanted, adored, supported, right? It's in the gratitude that you express. It's in how you show how lucky you feel to have them in your life. It's in how you listen to them, the way you look in their eyes, the way you do things for them to make them feel special. Not just, oh, I made you dinner. Oh, I did the dishes. Oh, I cleaned and folded your laundry. No. It's in how you keep them in mind when making decisions. It's in how you compromise with them and collaborate. It's in how much you show them that they are top of mind, that they are a priority for you, beyond doing things that help them in the day to day. That helps, especially for those who have a love language of acts of service, like me. But that is not enough, because I could hire someone to do those things, but that doesn't mean that I'm in love with that person doing those chores of mine, right? It's how special they make you feel, which is why going on dates is so important. Having that alone time, whether it's at home or outside of the home, is so paramount to your marriage staying strong. And in addition to love, because in that alone time, you're able to talk about things freely. You're not watching what you say. You're not keeping an ear out for what your kids are doing. You're not being interrupted by the millions of questions and requests that your kids are making when you're in their presence. You're able to dream together. You're able to dive into deep topics. You're able to align with each other, talk about your values, talk about if politics is important to you or your hobbies, your interests, things that you want to try, right? Things that you want to do together, how you want to raise your kids. It's a great time to realign and reconnect as not only a couple, but as partners, as co parents, as lovers, right? You're able to talk about, hey, how are we doing in this marriage? Are you happy? These are the things that I want to do more of. These are the things that I've been feeling hurt by. These are the things, like fill in the blank. Without that dedicated alone time, these conversations simply don't happen because there's just so much responsibility to tackle. And you could be the best co parents and fall out of love. You could be the best co parents and feel not 1 ounce of romance between you two. Okay? Because, shoot, there are friends that choose to co parent with each other simply for the fact that they want kids but haven't found the one. So if you are looking for something beyond that, where you feel like, yeah, we are an amazing team that parents well together, but also we are in love, then you feeling love is not enough. You must also demonstrate that. Okay? And on top of love, marriage also has its core pillars that you need to be strong in order for your marriage to grow. Things like healthy communication, being able to fight with each other in a way where the goal is to end up stronger as a couple. Being able to handle conflict resolution, being able to respect each other, like mutual respect, a foundation of trust. Without trust, you've got nothing in your marriage because trust is truly like just baseline. You've also got to be aware of what you guys are working towards. What is your vision for the future of your family? And are you aligned, right? All these things are needed on top of love. Because even if you can love your partner and show you love them, if you're constantly fighting, if you don't trust each other, if you don't have mutual respect, and you're not trying to work towards the same thing, then it's not going to work out well. You're going to get to that point where it's like, I love you, but we are not compatible. And if you're not compatible, then you're just constantly going to be having this high drama relationship with so much fighting, so much disagreement, where it feels like a struggle to love your person. Okay? So, love, no, not enough. It's demonstrating that love, it's building on that love, and also it's working on that core foundation of what makes a marriage thrive. So, making sure that you are working on how you communicate, having open communication, being willing to be honest and transparent and vulnerable with each other so that you can truly grow in emotional intimacy. Also working on partnership, right? Exploring what it would take for you to be a better team together, how to manage a household together, how to raise children together. All of that requires partnership, which also leans on healthy communication, sharing the load, supporting each other, because sometimes you're going to be able to do more than your partner because of work. And things can flip flop. It's not always about doing things 50-50. It's not about, hey, I'm not going to do that because you haven't been doing that. It is about devoting 100% of what you have available to you at any given moment. And that changes, right? If you're feeling great, your 100% could look like you're doing so much. If you're not doing great, giving your marriage 100% could look like very little. But knowing that each of you guys are putting in 100% at any given moment is what will help you feel like you are there for each other. So, making sure that you two are in constant communication and really having each other's backs, not letting your pride get in the way, but rather, no, I'm going to be a true partner and I'm going to set my pride to the side and have these tough conversations about what I can handle and what I need. And then listening to my partner about what they can handle and what they need and figuring it out together so that what needs to be done gets done. And working together to define how those things get done. What standards you have for this, and developing a joint standard so that you two can accomplish that together as a team. And then being able to navigate conflict and holding your relationship, the commitment and the love as the central part of that conflict, making sure that you two are keeping that in mind instead of allowing, again, your pride to get in the way so that you turn into people who are fighting just to fight rather than fighting to grow your relationship. Okay. So if you're at that point where you're like, yeah, I love my partner, but having kids has really put a damper on our relationship. And I don't know if we're going to survive parenthood as a couple who is going to thrive, then here are the things that you've got to focus on, okay? Prioritize the relationship, prioritize having alone time, schedule in date nights. If you need to, schedule in sex, right? Make sure that every decision that you're making for the family, including for the kids, is keeping your marriage in mind. So that means that if you're in the age where the kids are in school and they are in so many activities, basketball, soccer, football, cheer, dance, gymnastics, you name it, make sure that you are not overcommitting your family to the point where you don't even see your spouse. Okay? You might say, well, I see him at night when it's time to go to bed. Okay, that's great. But do you have energy at that time of the day when you see him? Okay? If the answer is no, and you are literally depleted of all energy and you have nothing left to give to your spouse, then it's time to reassess. Maybe you are overcommitting your marriage. Yes, your kids want to do all these things, but you know what they want more is for you two to stay strong. So maybe you're in the season where you can only handle one activity per child. That's okay. They're going to survive because they're going to suffer more and there's going to be a much greater negative impact if they are dealing with you two feeling disconnected because there's more arguing, there's more tension, there's more conflict in the home. Versus if you are keeping your relationship a priority, meaning you are taking care of yourself so that you are managing your energy level, you are able to give to your spouse whenever it is that you two are deciding to connect, and you are present when you are connecting. Okay, so that's self-care, taking care of your health, making sure you have boundaries for your kids, for yourself, for your family, for things that you're committing yourself to so that you do have the energy left over for your husband. And so that is what I mean by prioritizing the relationship, okay? It's not, oh, I need to forget everything else. Like, no, life still goes on, but I want you to keep your marriage in mind and how all these decisions are going to affect your marriage, okay? Because if you're constantly signing up for volunteer things in addition to working or in addition to being a stay-at-home mom, and you are overextending yourself, what version of yourself are you giving to your spouse? How are they receiving you? Are they happy with the version that they're getting of you, or are they not? Are you happy with the version of yourself that you're giving to your spouse, or are you not? And a great way to tell is, how are they responding to you? What's your dynamic now? Because how we interact with our partner affects how they interact with us. So if we're no longer flirting, if we're no longer communicating with them kindly, respectfully, playfully, if we're no longer paying attention to them and being intentional about our interactions and prioritizing the relationship, guess what they're going to do? They're going to stop too, because they're not going to feel motivated. Okay. The next thing, open communication, making sure that you're always talking. Okay. And talking not just about who's going to do pickup, who's going to grab groceries, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, but rather having deep conversations about life, about where you see yourselves going, about how you're each doing really, not just, oh, how was work? Oh, it was great. And then moving on, right? But really being attuned to how you're each doing so that you can demonstrate that you care about their overall well-being, not just, oh, are you good enough to be a parent? Are you good enough to provide? But rather, are you good as an individual? Are you good as my spouse? Okay. Talking about needs and feelings, expectations and wants, that's all very important. And that's all part of developing that emotional intimacy that will play a huge part and does play a huge part in the overall health of your marriage. And then, of course, part of strengthening your marriage and making sure that it is set up for success is knowing when to ask for help, right? Seeking a professional, reaching out to me. If you are struggling with communicating with each other, understanding each other, if you're struggling with being partners or reconnecting and feeling that spark again, and you feel like you've tried everything, then reach out, book a call with me. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't say, oh, I don't have time for that. You are already spending time as a result of not knowing what to do. All of that takes a toll on your mental health and your emotional well-being. And you may find yourself unmotivated to do much of anything, and you feel like maybe you're just on a hamster wheel where every single day is the same thing. And I'm here to tell you that when you work on it and you know exactly how to work on it because you've got the help, you've got someone directing you on what to focus on so you don't get stuck with the negativity, it does feel lighter because you're going to be able to communicate better. You're going to be able to work through conflict. It's not going to last so long. You're going to feel like you are actually making progress with each other. And you're going to get to that point where you can feel playful and light and flirty and feel like you're dating again. Okay? Because that's what your marriage needs, is for you two to feel like you are dating. Okay? Getting married, saying I do, does not mean the end of your dating life. Not at all. If anything, after having kids, your dating life becomes even more important and impactful. So, bringing it back, is love enough? No. Feeling love for your partner is not enough. You must also figure out how you can get to the point where you can demonstrate that love, act on that love, not just feel it yourself and hope that your partner feels it too. Love is action. That's what's going to help your marriage survive and thrive after kids. Okay? If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. Instagram is the best place for you to connect with me. Shoot me a message so we can get you started on this journey of healing your marriage and getting you to that point where your marriage is something that you feel proud of, something that you are happy to model to your kids, one that you feel fulfilled by, one that adds to your life. Because life is already hard on its own. Being a parent is already hard on its own. Your marriage should be the backbone, a supporting force to help you navigate that stuff, something that helps you feel resilient, okay? And if it isn't that right now, please reach out, whether you send me a message or book a call. I would love to help you. That's it for this episode. I hope you got a lot out of this because seriously, this is the foundation of everything that I do with my clients that have helped them make their marriage do a complete 180 from feeling like, I don't know if I like them anymore and struggling to talk things through, to come to resolution with the issues that they're facing, to feeling smitten with their partner. Okay. So if this is what you want, reach out. I'd love to help you. And if you know someone that this can help, please do me a favor and share this episode with them. And of course, if you love the show, show your support by leaving a review and a rating on iTunes. I would be forever grateful. I absolutely love reading your reviews. It really brightens up my day. And that's it. I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.